In 336 BC, the Kingdom of Macedonia was thrown into a state of emergency. During a royal wedding, King Philip was suddenly and publicly assassinated. The murder created an immediate power vacuum, which was claimed by Philip's 20-year-old son, Alexander. The timing was perfect for the young prince, leading to a question that has lingered for over 2 millennia. Did Alexander have a hand in his own father's death? Regardless of his involvement, his authority was not a given. Sensing weakness in a young king, several Greek cities, led by Thebes, immediately rose in rebellion. Alexander's response was swift and total. He marched his army to Thebes and leveled the city, killing or enslaving its population to ensure no other Greek city would dare challenge him. With the Greek mainland silenced, he turned towards his father's unfinished project, a full-scale invasion of the massive Persian Empire. The total destruction of Thebes achieved its goal. The rebellion ended overnight. This set a standard for the rest of his life. When faced with a political obstacle, Alexander's first instinct was to use overwhelming force to crush it. In 334 BC, Alexander crossed into Asia with roughly 40,000 soldiers to challenge a Persian superpower that ruled millions. His approach to problem-solving was famously demonstrated in the city of Gordium. Faced with a knot so complex that no one could untie it, Alexander simply drew his sword and hacked it in two. He applied that same blunt logic to war, often at his own risk. At the Granicus River, he led the charge personally and was nearly killed by a Persian axe, surviving only because a friend struck down his attacker just in time. This map shows the scale at Gaugamela. King Darius assembled a massive force to surround the Macedonians. Instead of matching their width, Alexander formed a tight wedge and charged like an arrow, piercing the center of the Persian formation. As Alexander's cavalry rode directly toward him, King Darius abandoned his army and fled the field, causing his entire front to collapse in panic. By ignoring traditional military caution and consistently attacking from the front, Alexander dismantled the world's largest empire in just a few years. When Alexander reached Egypt, he was welcomed as a liberator from Persian rule. While there, he visited a remote desert oracle where the priests declared him to be the literal son of the god Zeus. He incorporated this divine status into his public image, founding the city of Alexandria as a permanent global monument to his name. Believing he was destined for more, he pushed his army further east into the harsh, unknown terrain of the Hindu Kush Mountains and the river valleys of Pakistan. In India, his soldiers faced a terrifying lethal weapon at the Battle of the Hydaspes, hundreds of war elephants threatening to crush the Macedonian lines. Alexander won the battle, but his men had reached their breaking point. After 8 years of continuous fighting and thousands of miles of marching, the army finally refused to move any further into the east. No rival army had managed to defeat him, but the cumulative strain of an 8-year campaign across a continent finally broke his soldiers' will. Alexander was forced to stop not by a military defeat, but by the simple physical exhaustion of his men. He returned to his new capital in Babylon, but he was already planning his next move, a massive expedition to explore and conquer the Arabian Peninsula. Those plans were cut short when a sudden aggressive fever struck the king, leaving him bedridden and unable to speak. After an agonizing 11-day struggle, Alexander died in June of 323 BC. He was only 32 years old. Because he was so young and healthy, his death remains one of history's greatest mysteries. Was it a natural illness like malaria? Or was the king poisoned by generals who feared his next campaign would never end? This map shows the immediate consequence of his death. Because he left no heir, his generals spent decades fighting over the spoils, eventually tearing his vast empire into several smaller rival kingdoms. Despite the political collapse, his decade of war had already connected the East and West. Greek culture and trade routes were now embedded across Asia, a legacy that survived long after his empire was gone. Alexander's story proves that a single life can reshape the world in a remarkably short time. But it also serves as a reminder that even the most powerful conqueror is ultimately subject to his own mortality.